Welcome back to the Professional Hate Watching Association. If I had an air horn, I'd play it because I can. It's going to get intense because the playoffs are underway. We haven't been on for, 2 weeks at this point, and a lot has happened. Potentially some upsets or an upset happening tonight. I'm Ethan, here with Daniel, like always. First of all, we're almost through the first round. We're more than halfway there. Some series may end tonight. One has already ended. What's been your feelings toward the playoffs so far? How's it been? Has it been living up to the hype for you?
I would say so. Yeah, they've gone pretty much how I've expected them to go. We're gonna get into a few series today. Like I said before the playoffs, the West plan was just playing for. I think that's where I'll go with this. The West plan was just teams playing to get swept in the first round. And I think if Wemby didn't get hurt in Game 2, if he didn't have the concussion against the Blazers, that series also would have been a sweep. Like the Spurs almost still won that game without him, and the Suns had like basically back-to-back bye series in the first round as a 1 seed. Last year they swept the Grizzlies. This year they swept the Suns. So I think the playoffs have gone pretty much how I thought they were going to go, aside from, as we'll get into, the way Detroit has looked in round 1. But
let's talk about that, because Detroit is playing do or die basketball for the rest of the first round. They have gone down 3-1, and as of right now, they are playing the Orlando Magic in Game 5 at home. As it stands right now, there's 4 minutes and 22 seconds left in the first. The Pistons are winning 26-18, so they're off to a good start. Boy, I knew that the Pistons. I guess I'll start with this. I think you and I both knew that the Pistons had some shortcomings in terms of offensive production outside of Cade Cunningham.
Right.
But I don't think you and I thought it was going to be this bad. But let me rephrase it, actually. Is it that the Pistons are playing this bad, or is it that the Magic are finally playing the way that we all thought they could play?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like, what's happening to Detroit right now is what I think most people thought would happen to them in the playoffs. They just think it wouldn't. They just didn't think it would happen as early as round 1 against the eighth seed in the East. Now, I will say that, not to give the Pistons any excuse or anything, the Magic aren't your typical 8th seed. I think they're talent-wise a lot better than an 8th seed. Like, I'm on record, on video, it's on social media. I picked them to go to the NBA Finals this year because I was just like out on a whim. I thought they were going to be really good with all the talent that they have. So, no, they're not your typical 8th seed, but I think the way Detroit is playing and how they're really getting exposed in the first round is something that I thought would happen later in the playoffs, more so round 2 against Cleveland, who I still think is going to win that series, but we'll see. So yeah, it's been surprising how much the Pistons have struggled in this round, for sure.
100%. I think that we've talked about this previously. I think I'm on record saying this too, that I thought the Orlando Magic were going to be a way better team than what they ended up being record-wise, at least. But we all knew that we all knew the potential of this team because we'd seen it in the past. And with acquiring Desmond Bane for a king's ransom, you figured that they could only get better. And here they are, finally playing really the way that we all thought they could have played. I mean, you picked them to go to the – I forgot about that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You're like, good. I forgot, like, we kind of forgot what a good Magic team looks like, or like a really competitive one. We kind of saw flashes when they blew out the Hornets in the play-in game for the 8th seed.
Right.
Shut them down entirely. But to see it come together just like this is honestly the biggest storyline for me of the playoffs. And it's not the Rockets, which we'll talk about later. It's not Philly, which we will also talk about later. It's not even OKC getting another sweep. It's the fact that the Pistons have – I wouldn't even say it's really the Pistons' fault. It's that the Magic have come together so quickly. Maybe all it took was everybody jumping to the conclusion that Jamal Mosley was going to get fired. Maybe that's all it took. But his name has become a meme in the last few days. I just want to, like, Jalen Duren, what's going on? Like, I can only imagine, because it's not like he has been playing poorly, before this. He sat out the last game against the Pacers. Before that, he had back-to-back games of 20 points with 4 missed field goals combined between those 2 games. So he was playing well before the playoffs started. Again, in this series against the Magic, here, I'll walk you through this. From game 1 to now, or games 1 through 4, he has scored 8 points, 11 points, 8 points, 12 points. Tonight, he already has 7. So he's already playing better on a better rate than what he had been previously. But like, he's broken double figures 2 out of 4 times. That's just not going to cut it.
Yeah, and that's really the biggest problem that the Pistons have had all season. Biggest question mark going into the playoffs. When I saw Orlando go in there and win game 1, I was more so of a believer that it was just like, because the Magic have kind of had a reputation for stealing the first game of the series, point to 2019 against Toronto with that DJ Augustine shot.
I'll never forget it.
And then the very next season, they beat the Bucks in game 1 in the bubble. But in both of those years, both of those teams, like, that was their wake-up call, and then they beat the Magic 4 straight and knocked them out of 5. And so I kind of thought that's what we were going to get in this round. I thought that game 1 loss was going to be Detroit's wake-up call, so to speak. And
you thought that's what it was going to be after game 2.
Yeah, exactly. I thought them blowing Orlando out in game 2 was them firmly taking control of the series, and then the series was going to go back to Orlando. And I know going on the road and winning 2 games, no matter what seed you are, is hard because like role players play better at home. Teams just have more confidence when they're at home. But I don't think I didn't think anybody saw the Magic winning both of those games at home, like before the series started or after the Pistons just blew them out in game 2.
Oh, and definitely not.
Like,
I didn't.
And just watching these games and like how Orlando is choosing to defend Detroit, like they're obviously a very big team, so this makes it easy for them. Like they're basically just packing up the paint and not allowing Cade Cunningham to drive in there at all, and they're not really respecting Detroit's 3-point shooting. And I don't really blame them because the Pistons have been a below average 3-point shooting team the whole season. Like Duncan Robinson hasn't really been the signing that people thought he would be. And like they traded for Kevin Huerter at the deadline, and I don't even think I barely see him playing. So like I don't know, man. It's just
Kevin Huerter logged 3 minutes in game 4.
Yeah, the Pistons are, as we've seen, they're flawed, but it's not the end of the world. I just think it means that they need to, if they don't get out of this series, even if they do, because I don't have them going to the finals based on how they've looked, they need to use this offseason and figure out how they're going to surround Cade with a viable number 2 option, because I don't think Jalen Duren can be that guy.
Let me propose something to you, because I've seen it on, I don't know if you've seen this conversation in good old NBA Twitter recently. What if they went and got Devin Booker? Have you seen that conversation?
I have, yeah. I watched a reel on it earlier today, and I think that could work. I mean, like he has the Michigan ties. He's from there, so I'm sure he would like to play for his hometown team. The Suns are pretty much kind of on a path to nowhere right now, unless they can somehow. I don't think they can get another star in there because they have little to no draft capital after the KD trade, and they trade after the KD trade essentially. And Phoenix isn't like a super popular free agency destination, so it's hard to see a viable free agent signing there. So I think maybe if the Pistons are able to get Devin Booker in there, that could be the guy that like makes them more of a playoff team. Because right now they're a regular season threat, as we've seen, but playoff basketball is just different, man. It's just different.
Yeah, I was thinking that Detroit. I mean, I remember I'm on the record saying Detroit was a dark horse in the Eastern Conference, and I was half correct because they did get the number 1 seed, but they might get bounced in the first round. I'll end with this. I've told you this before, but I want to say it on record too. Mm-hmm. If I had $1 for every time a 1-seeded Detroit Pistons team had come back in the first round from down 3-1 against an 8-seed Orlando Magic team, I'd have $1, which isn't a lot, but like, why would I just have $1? So am I saying Detroit's going to come back? No. What I will tell you is the last time, the other time Detroit did it, it was against one of the greatest scorers of all time in Tracy McGrady. And so I'm not saying it's impossible, but if they're going to do it, they got to start tonight. So
Doc Rivers coached Orlando Magic team, by the way. Just had
Yeah.
to throw that in there.
just so you had to add to that.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Western Conference because there are 2 other games happening tonight. The Raptors, Cavs are going to get started in a little bit. I want to talk about the Lakers Rockets because Kevin Durant, as you mentioned before we went live, he's not playing tonight in Game 5. He will now miss 4 out of the 5 games. If this series ends in 5, he would have played in just 1 of those games, and it wasn't a great performance from him. I guess this has kind of been the question going around media cycles during this series, which is this a great job by the Lakers or just a collapse by the Rockets?
See, that's a tough one. I feel like I'm going to have to say like a great job by the Lakers because I don't think like that Game 3, we watched it together. I don't know how the Lakers came back and won that or how the Rockets blew it. But I mean, what LeBron is able to do at his age, being the best player in this series with the other team having a center who was coined as like the baby Jokic, like the next great thing, and Alpi Şengün, really other like promising young players from last year. And even still with Austin Reeves out the whole series, obviously Luka out the whole series, they're both not coming back. Or although is Austin Reeves, is there a chance he plays if this series gets extended? Like maybe
possibly. Luka's not coming back though.
LeBron has been the best player in this series. And I think that's just astounding to me at 41 years old in the Western Conference that LeBron is still outplaying all these guys at his age. It's just a great job by LeBron. And I think a great coaching job by JJ Redick as well, because it's kind of a similar issue the Rockets are having. It's kind of similar to what the Pistons are having because they're basically double teaming Kevin Durant and getting the ball out of his hands and forcing somebody else on the perimeter to beat the Lakers. And as we've seen, because they haven't had a real point guard all season after Fred VanVleet got hurt, the Rockets don't have that. They don't have that guy who can just go out there and get buckets from anywhere out on the court. And Şengün has just been, I can't, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know what his numbers were from Game 4, like the recent game that they won, but he's been playing not up to par this entire series.
He had 19 points.
So
19,
he has
19, 6, and 2.
Okay. So like
not
terrible,
bad, but without
terrible,
Kevin Durant, you would expect a little bit more. And that's in a win too.
When your best player is out, you're gonna need more from your second guy or your Robin in this instance. So like I think the Lakers, JJ Redick, they have a perfect game plan for the Rockets and they're executing and LeBron's hooping, and that's that. Like that's where I think it's very impressive by the Lakers and what they're doing.
I just want to give a shout out to Marcus Smart because I feel like he went from Defensive Player of the Year just a few years ago to some would argue that he was on his way out of the league. And here he is being, I wouldn't say the consistent second option for LeBron, but at times he has been that second option for this injured Lakers team. Right. And who would have thought that in 2026 you got Marcus Smart playing second option hoops? And that's not a disrespect to Marcus Smart. That's just like how everything was going. You would have never thought that he would be called to be the second option at times for this Lakers squad.
I saw some crazy stat the other day after Game 2, the only game that Durant played, obviously. I think when Marcus Smart was his primary defender, I think the stat was like Durant had more turnovers than shot attempts or something like that. Something crazy like that.
And he shot 8 of 13, Marcus Smart. 5 for 7 from 3. He ended with 25 points in Game 2.
Right.
To your point, I mean, we've talked about this before with the flaws of the Rockets, where the Rockets previously during the regular season had their stretches where it was just bad basketball. We knew their ceiling was lower because they didn't have Fred VanVleet, even at the beginning of the season. I think we talked about that back in like June or July, like when the injury happened or whenever that was. It's all a blur at this point, but we talked about it then. I don't think we realized the ceiling would be this much lower because I remember us talking. We thought Houston was going to be, maybe the third best team in the Western Conference.
Right.
And they're looking like they're going to get gentlemen swept in round 1 to a Lakers team that doesn't have Luka Doncic or Austin Reeves. Instead, it has I'm not even going to say the corpse of LeBron James because LeBron James is 41 years old and playing like somebody tell him it's not 2018 no more. Like, but to further prove your point, you look at the game 2 statistics, which was one of the closer games of this series, mind you. Kevin Durant got his stats. He had 23 points on 12 shots. That is about as efficient as you can get
9
in terms
turnovers
of playoff basketball. But if you go down the rest of the line, Şengün, 20 points on 20 shots. Tari Eason, 10 points on 14 shots. Reed Shepherd didn't score. Jabari Smith, 18 on 16 shots. It's like the Lakers are doing what I think a lot of other teams would do, which is like, yeah, we can have Kevin Durant try and beat us, but what's he going to do? Score 50? I mean, maybe he could, but like they'll take those chances if it means like, or they'll make somebody else beat you. They'll make somebody else beat you. That's what I'm getting at. I said that backwards, but make somebody else beat you. And they clearly haven't been able to do that. And one thing I will say about game 4, which was a convincing win for the Rockets. Do I think the Lakers took their foot off the gas? Maybe. I also think that shows the ceiling of the team. Obviously, Luka and Reeves aren't there, so it's an artificial ceiling. But this Lakers team might just run out of gas. And they are playing, should they close this out, they will be playing the Thunder, which I don't know if anybody outside of Victor Wembanyama stands a chance against them in the Western Conference. But that's something to watch. Does this team just run out of gas? Because game 4 was not close, but you could also argue that happens a lot. When a team goes down 3-0, they're fighting for pride, just don't get swept.
Yeah. There was a moment from game 2. I don't know if you remember this or saw it, when the Rockets were on a fast break. I think it was like a 3-on-1 break or something like that. And Reed Shepherd was bringing the ball up, and KD cut to the basket to try and get a layup. But instead of passing KD the ball, Reed Shepherd it was a wide open 3 to his credit and missed it. And the Rockets still scored on that possession. I'm not sure if you know what I'm talking about, but then you could see like KD chewing out Reed Shepherd after that play.
I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. So like that, I think that just points to like all year something has been off with this Rockets team chemistry wise. It feels like sure, they still were able to finish as the 5 seed in the West. On paper, they had a great record because when you have a team with great players on it, they're going to win games. That's what they do. But just because you have a team with a bunch of great players on it doesn't mean they all necessarily fit together. It just feels like all year. I don't know if it's like the burner accounts, like the KD files from All-Star Weekend. I don't know if that did something to the team, to their mojo, their vibe or whatever, but just all year, it just feels like the Rockets haven't been able to get their chemistry right. And I'm not going to come on here and say that KD's a home wrecker and that he ruins teams, because I think that's a silly argument. I think they were right to trade for KD. Like they needed a perimeter scorer, somebody who could be a threat from there. But once Fred VanVleet went down and they didn't address that point guard issue, like they're getting burned for it now. So like all year it's been an issue, I feel like.
I've said this too.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. I know I've said this before. I just don't trust Ime Udoka.
Yeah.
Like it's just that simple.
Purely basketball reasons, by the way.
What?
I said purely for basketball reasons, by the way.
No, I'm not even gonna lie. No, it's not. Like Ime Udoka is proven to be a great coach, but like because of who he is, who he's shown to be as a person, like no, I'm being dead serious here. Like not even about cheating on Nia Long. Like, dude, how can you do that? But like I don't want somebody like that leading my basketball team. Like, look at the Celtics, dude. Like Ime Udoka left, and the Celtics went and won a championship with Joe Mazzulla. Now, Joe Mazzulla and Ime Udoka are two very different coaches, much less people. But like, I wouldn't trust Ime Udoka to lead. And to his credit, they did great last year. I don't think anybody thought the Rockets were going to win 50-plus games and get the second seed in the Western Conference. Now, that obviously proved to not matter because then they lost to the Warriors. But Stephen Curry has ownership in the Toyota Center, so there's a caveat there.
Yeah.
I bring up Ime Udoka as a coach because I just, like, hindsight's 2020, but, like, when you have a coach like Ime Udoka and then you have a player with as big of a personality as Kevin Durant. I'm not even saying that as a diss. That's just a matter of fact. Combine that with a lot of young guys who want direction. Some of them are turning into leaders. I think Şengün is turning into that leader. And then you have other guys that are still finding their way in the league, like Amen Thompson. He's turning into an athletic freak, but he's not option one, obviously. He's not the guy on this team. And so do I think the KD burner stuff, do I think that had an impact on it? I think there's no way to say it didn't, but we have no way to prove it. I just think this Rockets team was inherently flawed. And when you have to play, and I think they could have gotten past like a different draw. Like if they'd drawn a different team in the Western Conference, like they might have been able to get past them.
If they were playing Minnesota right now and all injuries stood, like they could get past Minnesota, I think. If
they could probably get past Minnesota, I would argue they could even make it competitive, more competitive than what it is right now with Denver. I'm not saying that would be the case, and maybe Houston takes this to a 6th game or a 7th game, but they got such a bad draw with a reignited, prove them wrong version of LeBron James. Like you haven't seen this version of LeBron James really since the 2018 playoffs, maybe the 2020 finals run, but like LeBron hasn't been in the playoffs with a team where it's literally him and then the drop off is pretty significant on paper, at least since 2018. So you already have a team with potential chemistry issues, already an artificial ceiling because of a point guard injury. You don't have a point guard. And then you play against Braun, who feels like he has something to prove. Dude, no wonder the Rockets are down 3-1. Like, again, hindsight is 2020, but I'm not really surprised by this outcome is what I'm getting at.
I'm a little surprised by it. If you were going to tell me before the series that KD was going to get hurt, I would say I wasn't surprised by it. But if KD was going to play the entire series, I still think the Lakers would be leading the series right now. I don't know if they'd be up 3-1, but maybe it'd be game 5 tied at 2-2 if both teams were healthy. It would be. I think I'm surprised by it too. Is what I'm also trying to say.
I'm factoring in the KD injury. Like you take away Kevin Durant, I'm not at all surprised by it because it's that's your number one wing scorer. So you're down your wing scorer and your point guard. It's like, dude, of course. Like I thought it was going to be a sweep, to be honest with you, but props to them for avoiding the sweep because people are less likely to remember a 4-1 win than a 4-0 win.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just. Ime Udoka is a coach, man. I've said it before. I'm just not.
You've been on the for a while.
Fan of it. You have been on the record saying that he's a great coach. And I'm not disagreeing with that. I just referenced 24-25 Rockets, which was a team that I think we can both agree exceeded expectations. But I don't know, man. Just comments he makes too. Like you remember last year in the playoffs when they played Steph, and he had. He had stuff to say. Like I think it's just things like that. Like the Nia Long stuff aside, like taking that out aside, like I don't know, just don't sit right with me. And so it is what it is. I think they go down tonight. I think they lose tonight. No Kevin Durant. I think they lose tonight. I would be surprised if they win tonight. I will say that.
It's hard to disagree with that. I just want as much basketball as possible. So I think I'll root for the Rockets tonight. That's not me.
You know what series you are going to get as much basketball as possible in? That 4-5 matchup in the Eastern Conference, Raptors and Cavaliers. Series is tied at 2. Now it didn't look good after the 2 games in Cleveland. For those of you who don't remember, I picked Toronto to upset. It's a 5-4, and you picked Cleveland to win. Now I'm not going to lie. After game 2, when Brandon Ingram dropped, I think 7 points.
Yeah,
it was looking pretty bleak, but the Raptors played Darko ball, and Scotty Barnes has played great defense. Proof that he should have probably been a DPOY candidate. And here we are starting in Cleveland, and the series is tied 2-2. Want to point this out too, because you and I have this joke, which is that every series, or at least every playoffs, there's always at least one game that ends like 92-87.
Yeah.
And we got that almost. We got 93-89 for game 4 versus like, so we were close. This series obviously isn't going to end tonight. They still got to play at least one more. I do want to point out that Donovan Mitchell had like a quote unquote bad game. He only had 20 points in 37 minutes.
Right.
On 24 shots. So I think that's, I mean, it's just proof that the Raptors, like, they play great defense. When you hold a team that's led by Donovan Mitchell to under 90, like, that the proof is in the pudding. But I don't know. You're still rocking with the Cavs, I assume?
I'm going to stick it out with Cleveland because they do still have home court advantage. And I think when push comes to shove, I think they have the best player in the series in Donovan Mitchell. Even though you said Scotty Barnes has been really good this series. He's averaging 25.8 points and 7.3 assists. So, I mean, I think I'm going to stick with the Cavs, but I will say I wasn't surprised when they dropped those 2 games in Toronto because it's just such a Cavs thing to do. I mean, especially with this iteration of the Cavs, Harden and Donovan Mitchell, like I was not surprised at all when that happened. I'll say that.
The needle wasn't moved. You're just like, this happens.
Right. But I still think they're going to win the series, though.
RJ Barrett is going to be the X factor for me. Like, he played great in game 3. Game 4, he played solid, 18 points on 22 shots. It's just all right, but obviously it was enough to win. I think Scotty Barnes is still going to get his. He's proven that he can play well this entire series, home or away. But if RJ Barrett can keep up what he's been doing, I think the Raptors actually, can pull this off. And then we're talking about, if the Magic pull off the upset against the Pistons, you're looking at Magic Raptors, Magic Cavaliers. That's real basketball right there.
Silver would hate Orlando, Toronto round 2. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, that would be pretty nasty. At least for the ratings, dare I say. Although it'd be doing great in Canada. I don't know what else to tell you. All right. Speaking of Adam Silver, we got to talk about something because the NBA has made an attempt, or at least issued an attempt, to try and combat tanking in the NBA draft lottery. So they're calling it what? The 3-2-1 lottery. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about it because you and I both know we've made fun of how bad tanking is. We've made fun of it. But at first, you were telling me about this. At first glance, it didn't look like that bad of a proposal, and then you lost me at the end. So let's go through these details. Let's talk about it.
All right, let's do it. So basically, what their new lottery proposal is so first off, the big thing is the lottery has been expanded from 14 teams to 16 teams, and I'm just going to read it straight off the ESPN article. The 3-2-1 lottery proposal, named to represent the number of lottery balls per team, expands the lottery to 16 teams. Teams that don't qualify for the playoffs or play-in tournament, but stay out of the relegation zone, which is spots 4 through 10. So spots 4 through 10 means you avoid the relegation zone. And the relegation zone is the teams with the 3 worst records in the league. So basically what the new lottery, or I guess I'll just finish the rest of the proposal. And so then also, so teams with a bottom 3 record, the relegation area, like I said, would only have 2 lottery balls, but have a floor of the number 12 pick. So you finish with the top 3 bottom record, you can't have worse than the 12th pick in the lottery. And the rest of the 13 teams could fall as far as the 16th pick. 9-10 seeds from each conference, the play-in seeds, they get 2 balls. And then the losers of the 7-8 games get 1 ball each. I know. And then the stipulation that I added at the end, that because at first when I told you this rule off camera, you were kind of messing with it at first. You were like, okay, I get that. That makes sense. I could see that. But then I told you this and you were like, all right, you lost me. So the other thing is no team would be able to win the number 1 pick in consecutive years or be able to win 3 consecutive top 5 picks, which I didn't think much of that when I read it at first, but your reaction to it made me think like, I think we're still cooked. I think we're still in the same position.
Because how are they going to ensure that that happens? Do they include in the proposal how they're going to ensure that doesn't happen?
I don't think it was in there. I like that. I'm reading the ESPN article. I didn't see them say like what specifically they're going to do.
So if they can iron out those details, we could have a different conversation by critiquing those details. But as it stands right now, I just don't see how you pull that off without it looking like the draft is, dare I say, rigged. Now, I don't use that word lightly. Well, maybe I do sometimes. But like, I understand. Okay, let me backtrack. It's well-intentioned. It is well-intentioned because on paper, teams want to stack top 5 picks after top 5 picks to keep getting potentially generational superstars, talents for their team. Get out of the lottery as soon as possible. So if you prevent that from happening, that's good practice. That's good on paper or good in theory. But in practice, how are you going to enforce that? Like, do you put a little marker on certain teams' chances? Like, oh yeah, they picked 3rd and 4th the past 2 years. They can't do that. Right. Because if you reduce the amount of ping pong ball, they use ping pong balls, don't they?
Yeah.
They reduce the amount of ping pong balls. That still doesn't take away the it doesn't take away the chance of them getting it. It just, they need to be clearer about this.
Right.
I'm going to be very constructive with this rant because I do think that I've been talking about promotion relegation before. I do think that
you're not going to eat the mic this rant.
No, I'm not going to eat the mic this rant. I made sure to have lunch before this. I do think it's well intentioned. I like the idea of relegation because I can use the word, the word relegation. But I do like that you can suck, but you can't be the worst. It's the idea of, you don't have to be the fastest, you just can't be the slowest.
Right.
In terms of, like in the animal kingdom. So I think that we have to see how this plays out because it would be really funny if let's say the Memphis Grizzlies, for example, they're tanking, and then the final month of the season they flip a switch and they get it together. That would be really funny to watch. It would arguably make it worse though, because then it's like, oh, this is what you guys have been capable all year. And then you could have a team that tries to flip the switch and they're still just bad, and you go, oh yeah, see, there's a problem because they really are the worst team in basketball. And they tried to play good basketball and they still can't because of just their roster. So we have to see it in practice. I'm not going to give it a thumbs up or down yet until I see it because we really don't know how this is going to make these teams react. How are they going to actually perform? Because in a perfect world, they're the 4th worst team. In the perfect world, they're the 4th worst team. That's not going to play out for everybody. And there are going to be some teams that are literally just going to be the worst team in basketball.
Yeah.
But that, as you mentioned, ironically, probably do need the 1st overall pick or have the best odds at it. But I'm not going to give it a thumbs down yet. I'm gonna wait and see mode. What do you think?
This also says, before I go, it says there's a provision in there that allows them to use it, or that says that it will expire after the 2029 draft. So then they can figure out if they want to keep it or modify it based on how the results have been. Because I guess the NBA CBA runs through the 2030 season. So I guess they're allowing themselves to make that decision before that season starts.
CBA expires. Okay.
To, figure out whether or not they want to keep doing it. And
okay, that's fair. I think 3 tries at it will show you that whole, you can't get back-to-back top picks. You can't get 3 straight top 5 picks. We'll see that in action by the time of that 3rd round, or 3rd version, I should say. So that works for me. What do you think about it?
I was going to say what I was initially going to bring up. I guess I don't even know if we disagree because I don't think we're arguing about anything, but I think I have more of a problem with the lottery odds than you do because I just don't see how you can present the 3 worst teams in the league as not having the best odds to have the number 1 pick. And whether or not they're actually going out there and trying to win games is one thing. Like I don't know how you can judge intent or morality or whatever, like whatever you want to call it.
You can judge intent, Daniel.
The worst team not having the best odds to get the number 1 pick does not make sense to me. And whether or not they were trying to tank to get it, or whether or not they're just complete ass. It's one way or another. And I guess what they're trying to do with this proposal is obviously get teams to try and win games. And mostly it says the second half of the season, because you could be a team that's in that relegation zone, like 1 through 3 worst record, and then be like, oh, we got to start winning games so we have a better chance to get the number 1 pick. But like, what if they're just that bad and they can't do that? And the one team I cited before this, the example team, was the Pelicans, because a lot of their games this year they lost. Obviously, they only won 26 games, but Zion Williamson, unironically or ironically, I don't know, had his best season this year in terms of like being on the court, because he was playing games, like trying to be out there for his team. And like, the Pelicans are just that bad. Like, there's no other way to slice it. And so if there's a team that's that bad to where they have the worst record in the league, second worst record in the league, for them to have worse odds than the team who has the 10th worst record in the league to get the number 1 pick, I think just doesn't make sense. And I know if I'm going to bring that up, then I have to bring up something else to like how I would change it, like a solution or whatever. I like the idea of just getting rid of the lottery, to be honest, because I think that I like the idea of 4 teams not trying to tank and lose games to all have the same odds as the number 1 pick. The worst team gets the number 1 pick, and you go from there, like worst to I guess worst in terms of best record, and then first in terms of whoever wins the whole thing. I like getting rid of the lottery. I think that's what I would do, as opposed to like trying to mess with the odds, add more teams. Like, I don't know. That part of it just didn't make sense to me when I first saw it.
So for context, the Pelicans are actually closer to the play-in. They were closer to the play, well, not in the Eastern Conference, or in the West, but like statistically, like in terms of standings, if you stack them up in the record, they're closer to the Warriors than they are to the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
Like, actually, wait, no, I totally made that up. I lied. I miscounted. Totally lied. But the Pelicans aren't a bottom 3 team. They would fall into that 4 through 10 zone. So I get what you're saying, but I get what you're saying in terms of the worst team should have the odds to the best odds, or the worst 3 teams should have the best odds. And if not, just get rid of the lottery. Actually, I'm not opposed to getting rid of the lottery. My thing is that everybody knows that the worst team is artificial. Like,
okay.
Artificial, like you can say, like, I guess in this case, it's not artificial. Like, their record isn't inflated, it's deflated, I guess. Like, look at the Jazz. Look at the Jazz and the Pacers. Like, they both got fined this year for tanking. So the NBA is aware that it has this issue, and I respect it for trying something here. Like I said, this could work but it all depends on how these teams react. Like, how is this going to play out? Because maybe you're right. Maybe a team like the Pelicans, for example, who they try hard, they actually compete to win games. They don't have an incentive to be the worst team in basketball, and they fall to the bottom because the teams that would tank are actually still trying again because they don't want to end in that bottom 3. Then we look at this again. But I'll say it one more time. I'm not going to judge it until I see it in practice, because if something like that does happen, I'll give you this. If something like that does happen, yeah, we need to look at it, because then you're defeating the purpose of avoiding tanking, because now these teams are kind of weaseling their way out of the penalty while still being like not good.
Right.
And then other teams that are actually not good have to get punished. But I do think there's a natural order in the NBA. You know this. The Pelicans, I would argue, fall into that no man's land middle, which is kind of what a lot of
in purgatory, basically.
Yeah, which is where a lot of teams in the NBA sit. That's why it's no man's land in the middle. It's the biggest section. Yeah. I would say the Warriors are there too. They just had a winning record. The Clippers are there. Your Bucks are there.
With this new system, by the way, I think they had the 10th best lottery odds. So if this were to be this year's system, they would have tied for the best odds to get the number 1 pick. And they're in a situation where they're trying to convince their best player, Giannis, to stay. If they got the number 1 pick, I'm sure that would help. But the Bucks don't need the number 1 overall pick. They're not that bad. So
you're right. No, that's when you put it that way, that makes sense. Well, see, now you're presenting two different things because it's the Pelicans might be too bad. The Pelicans might be too bad, and then they miss out on getting the best odds. And you look at a team like the Bucks, who aren't bad enough, and they won't fall to the bottom, but they still fall into that middle ground threshold to where they still have great odds at the number one pick. And you're like, they don't deserve the number one pick,
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword. So we're kind of walking a tightrope here because either of those scenarios aren't ideal. And then you have like the Pacers, for example, will end at 4, and then they have the same odds as the Bucks. Is that how that works?
Yeah, teams 4 through 10 have the same odds, the best odds to get the number one pick. It's like 8% or something.
And then let's say hypothetically the Pelicans finish with the third worst record, then the Pelicans have worse odds because they got relegated.
Yeah. Dude,
so,
I think they probably watched that episode that we did when you first brought up the promotion relegation idea, and
it's not what I had in mind. It's not what I had in mind, but
teams with the 3 worst records. So something else I'll say really quickly. That is a really good point that you brought up earlier about how the worst records are kind of artificial and that you can judge intent. I do agree with that because I think me saying that you can't judge intent is saying that tanking isn't happening. And I don't want to take credit away. Like, I don't want to just sweep that under the rug. Teams are definitely tanking, and I don't think it's good for the league. But the Washington Wizards had the worst record in the league this year, 17-65. And I think they're that bad. Like, I think they're really bad. And the fact that they would not have the best chance to get the number one pick, I think is very flawed.
But I will tell you this. I will tell you this. Did they not make 2 trades for star players who then proceeded to not really play this year?
That's fair. That is a good point. They did do that.
They're buckling up for next year. Now, I'm not saying there's a flaw with that strategy. As a matter of fact, it's encouraged. The Wizards, if they get in an ideal situation, they're going to end with a top 3 pick, maybe even the first overall pick, who's going to join Trae Young and Anthony Davis possibly. So,
right.
Like, they're just playing the system that allows them to do this. So I agree with you, though. The Wizards product that we saw was not good.
They let Bam Adebayo score 83 points, bro.
That was when they took it too far. That was when they had to look internally and they're like, wow, maybe this tanking thing isn't for us.
Of all the teams who were really bad last year, I guess which one deserves it the most? Because, I mean,
the Kings.
The Pacers, which team did you say?
The Kings.
I was going to say the Kings. And I was also going to say the Nets because I think you could argue the Nets are.
The Nets.
20-62. I mean, the Pacers are not 19 wins bad. They were just in the finals last year, and they were obviously.
No, they're not.
They were obviously using this as like a retool, not even a retool year. They just threw the entire season away, and we're just like, we're playing for next year.
Like, honestly, if I was Pascal Siakam, I'd be mad. I made an all-star team.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like
for
you said,
a 19-win team is diabolical.
Fine for tanking. So, like, dude, I don't know. It's just get rid of the lottery.
There's a lot of, you know what? They might do that if this doesn't work.
Yeah.
If this doesn't get approved or it doesn't work, they might just do that. Like, I understand that the NFL kind of has a tanking problem too. And you could argue that it's not as talked about because there's fewer games to watch. There's less of a product to see. And
I think it's also a little harder to tank in football than it is in basketball. Because
you think so?
Well, with a sport like football, if you were to go out there and lose games with your play, I feel like that increases the chances for injury. Because I think if you're playing football, like purposely not going 100%, I think you're increasing your chances for injury.
That's a good point. Actually, I didn't think of that. That's a good point.
You can speak to that because you played football. I never played football, but I think that's just what I've seen.
Yep.
Just from
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
that's what you're taught, which is, if you don't go 100%, you're like, you have a chance of getting hurt. So that's a good point. I didn't even think of it like that. But I bring this up because the NFL doesn't have a lottery for its number 1 overall pick. Now, there are teams that stay consistently bad, but I do think that maybe this is raw. Maybe this is too a hot take, but without a lottery, I feel like it's a lot more dependent on the draft, like on your drafting skills. Because
Right.
if you are the Chiefs, for example, this past year, you had a down season. You ended with what, the 9th pick. You traded it up.
Yeah.
You know where you're sitting at in the grand scheme of the draft. And if you trade up or down, you then make on the fly decisions. Whereas with the NBA lottery, you could be like the Mavericks, for example, and somehow fall into the number 1 pick and everything. And then it's a pretty easy pick because every year in the NBA draft, there's usually a consensus number 1, except this year. But like a lot of times there's a consensus number 1. So I'm not saying it doesn't require skill, but the lottery allows teams who, can kind of get out of jail free card if they land that number 1 pick. They're like, oh, perfect. We know who we're getting.
Yeah.
Did that make sense? Like, am I making sense with that?
No, that does make sense. That's a good point.
Okay. Because I had no sense of if I was talking for free, if it made any sense. So long-winded answer, conclusion. I'm just gonna wait and see. I gotta wait and see how this plays out.
Yeah.
This time next year, when we're still doing this podcast, I think we'll have a better sense because then we'll know who the 3 worst teams are, and we will be like, dude, those 3. This will be the topic next year. I can already see it. If this gets approved, it'll be. Let's just say the 3 worst teams next year are the Kings, the Pelicans, and the Nets. And they're the 3 worst teams in basketball. Like, let's say the Kings are the worst team. Right. The question, I can already see it. The conversation will be, do they really deserve to have worst odds because they deserve to actually be the worst teams in basketball? It's going to be your conversation.
It would be so funny if next year a team that is in that 4 through 10 range gets the number 1 pick because they have the best odds to do so. And it's a team like Miami, like a team like that that's just in the middle that like may not have the best, like, I don't know if they'll be that bad next year to where they're a bottom 10 team, but like if they're in that, like, what if they're one of those teams who like loses the play-in or something and somehow is able to, like, if they're like a 9-10 team next year,
or if they just miss out, they're 11.
Get 2 lottery balls, the same amount of lottery balls, by the way, as the 3 worst teams record-wise in the league. The 9-10 team gets the same amount of balls as the teams with the 3 worst records in the league. And what if they get the number 1 pick? That would be so funny, and I bet it would make people so mad.
How much worse is that from like the Mavs getting the number 1 overall pick? Isn't that kind of the same situation? Because
I think so, but I think
weren't the Mavs a play-in team? I thought that's what they were.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were up in arms about it, but that was because of the circumstances which transpired with the Luka trade. So I'll wait and see. This has the potential to work, though. Like, I'm reading through it. They gotta give us some more details on
that consecutive top pick thing,
on that, how they would manage that. But like on paper, I think this works. This can work. It's better than we can both admit, though. It's on paper, at least it's better than what they have right now.
I don't know, because like
you don't know.
Because on paper, Adam Silver's telling me the teams with the 3 worst records in the league and the teams who just missed out on the playoffs, the 9-10 seeds, have the same odds to get the number 1 pick. So I don't know. I don't know if it's better. I honestly don't know.
Only one way to find out. Maybe it's going to force some teams. It might force some teams sitting in that relegation zone to make a trade deadline move, and then it actually hurts their rebuild.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, yeah, let me go get Zach LaVine to get some scoring to get me out of this relegation zone.
Dude, yeah.
It could be something like that, which would make the league funnier, would make the league more watchable. Just saying.
We'll be there for it. It'll be
I will be there. No matter what, I will be there. Okay, before we go, we got to talk about the games that happened recently, because we had 2 playoff series end, and that is Oklahoma City and San Antonio. You talked about it earlier, which was that you thought both of these teams were probably going to get swept. Had Wembanyama not got hurt in game 2, the Blazers probably get swept as well. I mean, heck, game 3 that Wembanyama missed, they still lost. The Spurs still won it. You could argue that the Spurs just weren't able to make changes quick enough mid-game without Wembanyama, because they weren't anticipating him getting hurt.
Right.
So I don't really think there's much to talk about. I think all we know is that these two teams are head and shoulders above the rest of the Western Conference. I would argue head and shoulders above the rest of the NBA, the rest of the bracket, because Detroit's not who we thought they were. Boston's just chugging along, but they did lose. And the Knicks are the Knicks.
Yeah, that's really all you can say about the Knicks is that they're just there.
So, do you think I mean, we picked Denver to win the finals back in October. They're not out yet. They live to fight another day. But it's not looking good. Is Oklahoma City and San Antonio the two best teams left in this playoff?
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna ask me if I was finally ready to jump off that pick, and I'm ready to jump off.
Like, I'm not jumping off until they get eliminated.
I'm what Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has done the past 2 seasons. I think it's finally starting to register with me. And it's funny that this never happened with Jokic, even though he won 3 MVPs. And
Shut up.
Even though he won 3 MVPs, averaged a triple-double as a center, and I never wanted to call him the best player in the league. But like, Shea's the best player in the league. Like, I can't watch him every night and say that he's not. Like, even free throw antics aside, how efficient he is able to score and how he's able to just take over games and dictate games. I saw some stat. I think it was before game 3 or 4 of the Sun series. It was something about how many shots he had missed in fourth quarters and overtimes. Like his last
one.
It was one shot. Like, he's unbelievable. I think he's going to win MVP again. And I think until the Thunder get eliminated, I don't think anybody can beat them. That's just the mentality that I have. Like, I know Jalen Williams is out, like that week-to-week hamstring injury, but I don't know, dude.
Well, of course nobody. Of course nobody's going to beat them until they get eliminated.
Well, until somebody stops Shea, I'm like, I don't see how they lose, even without J-Dub.
Yeah, I mean, they've been chugging along all season without him for a majority of the season, so there's no reason to believe that they just can't continue doing it. I mean, the Suns were outmatched. That's just you just on paper.
Brooks did have a hell of a series, though.
Oh, he played great.
Played really well.
He gave it his all. I will say, though, it is hard to dispute his efficiency. But Victor Wembanyama hates the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like that man hates the Thunder. Like, probably more than me. More than me. Like, I don't hate the Thunder. Let the record reflect. I don't hate the Thunder. It's just not the most exciting basketball. Yeah. But that's besides the point. Victor Wembanyama wants to beat the Thunder every given opportunity. You and I see this. We all see this. We saw it on Christmas. We saw it. They played each other on Christmas, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. We saw it on Christmas. I was sitting with my family, and we were like, wow. That man does not want to lose to that.
Did the Spurs knock the Thunder out of the play-in too? Did that happen this year?
The NBA Cup?
The NBA Cup, yeah.
I believe so.
Because wasn't it the final? Wasn't it Spurs Knicks in the Cup final?
Yes.
Because the Thunder got knocked out by the Spurs in the round before, I think. So yeah, I mean,
the Thunder had beaten the Spurs and the Knicks had beaten the Magic of all teams. Funny enough.
Yeah, like the Spurs took 4 out of 5 in the regular season. You're right. I can't argue that, but like, if the Thunder are able to get Jalen Williams back at some point, like, I just don't think they have. I don't think
you know what.
Like, I just don't.
Just because you hopped off the Nuggets wagon that you've been riding since October, they're going to come back and win this series versus the Wolves.
I mean, congrats. Like, clap it up if you do. Like, the other team's best player is injured. The Dante DiVincenzo tore his Achilles. Like, Naz Reid got hurt in game, what was it, 5? Are we on game 6 of that series?
Yeah, we're about to be on game 6.
So, yeah, I mean, like, congrats to Jokic, I guess, if you come back down 3-1 against literally the corpse of the Minnesota Timberwolves against Rudy Gobert and playoff Julius Randle. Like, just give him MVP for that, honestly. Give him his 4th MVP if he comes back down 3-1 in that series.
All I'm going to say is that the 3 best teams in the Western Conference, record-wise, were all each other's kryptonite. The Thunder always beat the Nuggets, who always beat the Spurs, who always beat the Thunder. So I'm just saying a Nuggets-Spurs series would be fascinating. Now, admittedly, I'd probably lean Spurs, even though I did literally pick. I'm not going off of the Thunder finals pick.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's ridiculous. I think it would be interesting. Going to the Eastern Conference, the Celtics had a chance to close out Philly, but Joel Embiid turned back the clock. He had a great game. Someone told him it was 2022 again, I think. And now here we are. Celtics up 3-2, but going back to Philly. Now, when I gave my dark horse prediction about Philly back in October, I said 40 wins no more. So I'm not going to take credit for this. They already checked the box for me when they went over 40 wins. And making the playoffs was great too. But admittedly, I thought this was done in 5. I really thought it was done in 5. But Joel Embiid proved that he still got it, especially after his injury. Like, it's pretty impressive, dude. Not that I was gonna lie about it, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was it's arguably the best performance of the playoffs we've seen so far.
That's true. I also thought it was going to be Celtics in 5, even after VJ Edgecombe had that insane game 2 and then had that little wink or a farm moment after he hit that 3. It's funny because wasn't it the very first game of the season wasn't it Sixers Celtics and the Sixers beat the Celtics in Boston and like Edgecombe went crazy? Didn't he have like he almost had 40 or something, right, in his very first game? Wasn't that also against the Celtics?
Yes.
Something like that. Because then I just think
it was home opener or not home opener, season opener against Boston. VJ Edgecombe had 34.
Right. And I think he was like the youngest player to score 30, that many points in
something like that. Yeah. And then Tyrese Maxey had 40 that night too.
And then in that game 2, he became, I think, the youngest player to have like 30 and 10 or something in a playoff game or like some stat like that.
Yeah.
So I just think it's funny that like history kind of repeated itself or rhymed, if you will, since history doesn't repeat itself. But yeah, I had Celtics in 5, and I thought once Embiid came back and they looked as bad as they did in game 4, I thought it was definitely in 5 after that, because I thought like that was Boston firmly regaining control of that series after 3 when they went up 2-1, and then they basically did the same exact thing. They were like, here go, not 2 more for y'all. Here goes 1 more for y'all. Went up 3-1. But yeah, I think you got to give all the credit, like you said, to Joel Embiid. Just to come back from that injury, like on the road in Boston, like really talking about kryptonite in the West, like for the Eastern Conference, the Celtics have been the Sixers and Joel Embiid's kryptonite that entire era of the process. And for them to be able to go in there, live to fight another day, Embiid to have the second half that he did, because it wasn't pretty in the first half, but he really turned it on in the second half, and they were able to power through and get that win. Very impressive. Like, I still think the Celtics are going to win the series. If they don't win in Philly, I think they'll win in 7 at home, because it's just, I can't envision, it's literally impossible for me to envision the Sixers going into Boston and beating the Celtics 3 times. Maybe it's because I saw what happened in 2022.
I was going to say, do you remember the last time Philly played Boston in a game 7 at the Garden?
They won game 5 to go up 3-2 and then blew it on their home court in game 6 when they could have closed them out, and then they got blown out in game 7. So I think I've just seen too much disappointment from the Sixers in Boston to make me believe that they're going to win a 3rd game in Boston. But I still think the Celtics are going to win, but like huge props to Philly and Joel Embiid specifically for just keeping their season alive.
Wouldn't it be something if that's the 3-1 comeback we see? Like, Pistons are down 3-1, Rockets are down 3-1. Like, what if that's Nuggets were down 3-1? What if that's the 3-1 comeback that we see? We're going to have a dialogue about that one.
No, for sure. And,
shout out to Quentin Grimes, 18 points. Shout out Andre Drummond, hit another 3.
Didn't Paul George have a good game yesterday? I know
Paul George had a great game. Well, he had 16.
Okay.
Maxey had 25.
We'll take 16 for Paul George. If Embiid's giving you 33.
If Embiid's giving you 33, I will take it. Well, that's what happens when you beat Boston by double digits on their home. You hold them to under 100 too. Like only 3 Celtics were in double figures: Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Peyton Pritchard. So, like, I'll take that. You take that. Derek White, 2 for 8, didn't hit a 3.
Speaking of that, I was gonna say, speaking of Derek White, this is just a note for obviously this series and the rest of the playoffs. If the Celtics get out of this series, which I think they will, and they still should. What happened to Derek White, bro? Like you want to talk about the corpse of insert name or team? Like Derek White is the epitome of that. I didn't know before the playoffs that he was having the worst like overall shooting year percentage wise from the field of his career. He shot 39% from the field this year. And in the playoffs, he's averaging 8 points on 29% from the field and 21% from three. Like, they need Derek White to figure it out because I think Derek White's always been the X factor for the Celtics, being able to have a guard who can like give you 16, 17 points, like knock down threes and defend as well as he does. If he's not contributing on offense, like that's a huge problem for them because then you're relying on like Peyton basically to be your lead de facto point guard, which I think Peyton Pritchard is a great player. I think on any other team, he would be putting up monster numbers, but I think he works so well on the Celtics because like the Celtics have a lot of cooks in the kitchen and everybody knows their role. So I think if Derek White is struggling, I think that puts a lot of pressure on Peyton Pritchard that he might not necessarily be equipped to handle. I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that. We'll see.
He also took, just want to add, he took the most field goals ever, like for a single season in his career. He took over 1,100 field goals this year.
Derek White did?
Yeah, so a higher volume and a lower shooting percentage.
Yeah.
Which is just not a good recipe. But, you know, you bring up a good point. I didn't even notice that because the Celtics have just been chugging along, winning games without Jason. The no Jason Tatum was the bigger storyline all season. And now with Boston, really kind of the pressure's on to close the series out. You got to make the Sixers go away. You've done it time and time again. Can you do it again? One more time? Yeah, I agree. You need Derek White. Derek White is kind of like what RJ Barrett is to the Raptors. And what I mean by that is the X factor. If he's playing well, you doubt that the team's going to lose. If he's not playing well, we got question marks. So I'm not at all comparing them in terms of player caliber or even the role or not play style, but I think they have similar roles in terms of what they mean to the success of their team.
Right.
So, I mean, the pressure's on. They got to close them out in Philly. I best believe that's going to be a great crowd, too.
Yeah, I'll take a game 7, though. Even though I think Boston is going to win in 7 still, I'll take a game 7. Nothing better than a game 7.
Yeah, especially against regional rivals. Speaking of regional, the New York Knicks have gone up 3-2 against Magic City. Now, you're sticking with Magic City, or you picked Magic City. Are you sticking with them?
No, I think they're done, but they've done their job. They did what they needed to do to fulfill my propaganda on them. They gave the Knicks some trouble. They scared them in the first round, but I think it's over. I don't know if I said this on camera or I was just saying it to you like while we were just hanging out or whatever. In the 2 games that the Hawks won, they won both of them by 1 point. A buddy of ours was telling us that that's never happened before in NBA playoff history before that. So I think the Knicks are clearly the better team because, I mean, it's a 3-6 matchup. So, like, obviously they're the better team. They should be the better team. But they're blowing them out in the games that they're winning. And the games that they've lost, one of them, that 1-point game, they had a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, blew it at home in game 2. And then game 3, the Hawks just played a really solid game all around from start to finish and came out with a close win on their home floor. So, like, I'm not saying the Hawks are going to, like, fold it up and pack it in because they got 2 games off the Knicks in the first round. Obviously not. But, like, I mean, they did what they needed to do to make my prediction not seem that crazy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They got 2 games off the Knicks, but I don't think they're going to win the series. The Knicks got that. They should at least.
I wouldn't mind a game 7 here.
I wonder if that's another one, though, where, like, if the Knicks don't close out Atlanta in game 6, like, are they, like, is obviously all the pressure's on them to win that game 7. Hawks are playing with house money. Like, how dangerous of a game 7 would that be for the Knicks?
Like, it's not as dangerous as, I was going to say it's not as dangerous as Philly, but I would say it's more because I think the Hawks are probably a little bit of a better team than Philly.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man, because if the Hawks could win another game, you would hope by more than 1 point.
Right.
But no matter if it's 1 or 100. The 3 Knicks wins have been at least 2 of the 3 have been pretty convincing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Part of me doesn't even think the Hawks can win a game 6 and force a game 7 because like they are like when you go down 3-2, yes, you're going back to your house, which is really nice, but like I can only imagine that it's like, dude, they got blown out in game 5. Like that wasn't a competitive game. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying they can't force a game 7, but I think the pressure's actually more on them than the Knicks, to be honest with you,
That's fair.
because
Yeah.
the Hawks went up 2-1. Now you're down 3-2. So
Yeah.
are you going to be able to push it to one more road trip, or are you done? Which is kind of crazy for me to now that I'm saying it, because again, they are the 6 seed. 3 versus 6 is a competitive round usually, but it's never like you're not like, oh, the 6 seed needs to win this. Which Hawks don't need to win anything, dude. They were 10 games above 500. That's a really impressive year after trading away Trae Young at the deadline.
Yeah.
So. But I think the pressure's on them to win this more so than the Knicks, because the Knicks are like, we just blew you out in game 5. The previous game, we beat you in Atlanta. We'll just do it again.
Yeah. And I guess this is the last point I'll make. If the Celtics somehow do bow out in the first round, which I think would just be crazy. I don't see it happening. I'm not saying I support this or condone this, but Celtics fans are definitely going to try and have it both ways, to where they were saying, look, we're fully healthy. We're going to win the East. We got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, all these guys. We're unstoppable. But then if they lose, they're going to bring out the card of, this was a gap year. We got 50 wins. We weren't really supposed to be able to contend for anything this year. I don't support that. Like, you can't have it both ways. But like, if the Knicks were to lose in the first round, I'm saying this and saying that like the Knicks obviously have more to losing in the first round.
Oh yeah.
Like, what do the Knicks have to fall back on? Like, nothing.
Nothing.
They get bounced out in the
first round. You got to go trade for Giannis now.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, the Celtics would be blowing a 3-1 lead, though.
That's true. That's a good point.
So, that ain't good either. And Joel Embiid, who had just come back from injury, to come back from down 3-1 is kind of diabolical.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I don't think it's going to happen. The Celtics I'm talking about. But we're going to have a conversation if Joel Embiid can will this team to a 3-1 comeback. Dude, get ready for it. You talked about Raptors Magic. Get ready for Sixers Hawks, dude, in round 2. Bro. All the lower seeds just win in the Eastern Conference. I can't even tell you. I don't know if that's ever happened when I've watched basketball, at least.
If the Sixers somehow come back and beat the Celtics and play New York in round 2, would you – I think I would low-key take the Sixers in that series, not going to lie, if both teams are still healthy.
If they're still healthy,
I like the Sixers in that series.
That's a good one. I don't know, man, because if they can shut down the Hawks, like, I can't see how they can't do that to the Sixers as well. Like, the Sixers have a really talented backcourt, and of course, when Joel Embiid's healthy, he showed you he's still got it.
Right.
But I like the Hawks roster a little bit more. They obviously don't have really much of a true center like Joel Embiid, so it's different challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But the Hawks are such a dynamic team that if the Knicks close this series out in 6 or 7, it really doesn't matter. Like, I think they could be competitive with Boston. I think they beat Philly though. But you know, Boston's got to hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah,
we will see. Watch the Knicks be able to face the Sixers, and then it's like, dude, oh my God, Knicks Cavs conference finals. Oh, diabolical work. I think we know somebody who's predicted that somewhere. Probably. Anyway, that's it for this episode of the Professional Hate Watching Association. We will be back to continue with more of the playoff conversation, and if we get an update with this lottery, because we need more details, please. But for now, I'm Ethan. For Daniel and Ethan, we will see you in the next episode.